product with design team out there in the Google world. But it was really hard to find anything about product leaders sharing how they assemble teams or how they organize teams, right? And as we move into, as you probably all know, and probably all seen, each company has different things. Some companies are more flat organizations, some companies are more hierarchical. So also when navigating on those companies is a little bit hard to think about how you organize if you were in that position, if you were the first employee, if you're first product manager. So that's the reason why I chose the topic. I really a little bit about myself and my background. So for those who are trying to guess where my accent is for those who guess Brazilian, you get thumbs up and you get the point. So I was born and raised in Brazil, São Paulo, Brazil. I started my career there. I started my career like a lot of PMs. I was undergrad in computer science, and early on got an internship in JP Morgan Chase, huge financial institution, where there was this overlap of role, and I really got into problem statement requirements and like what we were trying to solve with technology. And I realized I was not as passionate about coding as I thought I was while in college. So I did some internships, JP Morgan, Natura, a startup called PCA. And then I decided that I wanted to move 100% into product management and kind of experience working abroad and studying abroad. So I made my move to the US about 15 years ago. I went to UC Santa Cruz on a one-year program that they had for professional folks. That included also international students. After graduating, I got my first job in the US, was at Wells Fargo. Then I had a stint at a company that is still around. I just joined them after they just came like 6 months after IPO, and that's Riverbed. I then went into a stint in e-commerce with Walmart, Sephora, got my first managerial product management job at StubHub, grew into director, left to join a startup as the first PM. They're called Good Money. And then moved about 6 months ago in the middle of COVID crisis to Instapage and Postclick to take up on my VP role of product design and project management. So that's a little bit about my career and how I got from being an IC to my level. And in this journey, I did learn a few things of how to assemble teams. There is no right or wrong. I'll say right now, all it's here is tips and experiences. I love hearing people's experience on those in the subject. I love hearing folks that have thought different ways. And there's so many ways to look at this. And so a quick definition here. So as I know, that product team sometimes means your Scrum team or your engineering product design group. So for the sake of this conversation, I'm really talking about your product organization. So organization that has multiple product managers. So, and maybe one because you're the first one in the company, but it's how you slice and dice the product that the companies are building in a way, and you assemble a team of product managers that can take care and lead those products and talk to customers and find the problems and continue to evaluate problems and solutions until, companies are successful and keep growing. So that's the definition I'm going to go with today for product team. So where do we start? We have a few things. So the way I look at this, I look at three things always when I join a company. So I look at the product that the company is building. I look at the people the company have. And then I look at frameworks that the product teams are using. And why those three things are important, I will deep dive in each one of them a little bit, but the product is that for you to define how you're going to organize your product team, who you're going to hire, the levels you're going to hire, the expertise you're going to hire, you do need to understand the problem area that the company is trying to solve. And you need to understand, am I building a new product? Am I taking over an existing product? Is this product mature? Is this product in infancy? Is this product about to be retired? Is it customer facing? Does the company already embodies like an outcome driven approach? Should I look at this product? Is easy to look at its journeys? or product lines. It is product like divided in pages, like many commerce legacy commerces are, and banking e-commerce and banking are. So that's why you do that assessment quickly, how things are, right? People, the same thing. How many people do you have? Like, so if you're hired as a manager or director or VP, who is in your team already? Are you being hired to assemble from scratch? Do you have some talents? What's the situation of those talents, right? What you gather inside? What are they new? They have been around for quite some time. Some folks ready to be promoted. What are all the levels? How they are connected with each other. So, like, do you have a hierarchy already? Do you have a flat organization? What is the level of maturity? Like, are they senior, junior, interns? Are they directors? Do you need SMEs or generalist PMs? Or do you have SMEs or generalists? And is this a flat or hierarchical organization? And how does the organization kind of have this idea? Is it left to you to decide? Or does the CEO or someone already in the company on a leadership role has an idea of how the organization, the product organization should be? And last, what you definitely want to look is, once you have the people that to build the product that you need to be built for your customers, what are the frameworks you're going to ask them to follow? So therefore, you easily manage a team of X amount of PMs without having to run into problems that each one are doing their own thing. Right? So the same way Agile does describe Scrum and all these things for execution and engineering team, putting frameworks for the product team of how they should work, how they should approach hypothesis validation and problem solving, it's as important, because it all happens before someone touches the keyboard to code. So one of the, let's deep dive a little bit on the product side. So when I mentioned about how you organize a product, one of the things I've learned a little bit with my experience is that there are certain types of organizations in product that works better depending what the company industry is. So here is kind of like the way I broke it down. So journeys, which is, you're going to find, this is kind of the hot topic in product management, right? A lot of e-commerce usually used to be divided in pages. So like people would say homepage, checkout, product page. And then this whole concept, and then there was the mobile, the app versus the browser for a long time, because app was something new. And then what happened is that as technology progressed, as customers start collapsing those walls, similar to omni-channel for brick and mortar and technology, the whole idea that you have a team building an app and a team building the browser product, it kind of become very blended into each other. So this concept of journeys arrived, and the concept of journey is that you look at all the products you're offering to the customer or the problems you have to solve, and you forget what technology is being used behind, and you think from the customer perspective. Am I seeing this? Does it matter if I'm the app or I'm in the browser? Am I looking for something the same way? Am I interacting with this product the same way? Is my expectation the same? Or if I start here and finish there, should I have this jarring experience or a continuation? So a lot of this come to flourish as journeys. Journeys works perfectly for D2C, e-commerce, fintech, because yes, the reality is that some of these companies and some products build in this type of industries, they don't need the separation that is an app versus a browser. And you don't need to have 1 PM for this and 1 PM for that. So it works pretty well. It's not right or wrong, right? It works pretty well. It also works pretty well depending on your SaaS space. So if it's customer facing, journeys work pretty well. So if it's a product line is what I was saying. Like sometimes you have your cloud product, you have your customer service product. So you kind of have all these types of products that they are formulated around a product line, and that is usually really well met in SaaS, and really it's a really good merge there. And the D2C, for those that still do use mobile and browser, there are certain direct to consumer and e-commerce. There are certain companies that is still uses as a strategy to differentiate. So if that's the company strategy and they have a mobile solution and a browser solution, then yes, that product line still works. And then you, of course, you're still going to have legacy, right? Pages encompass everything that is legacy. So companies that have been around for quite some time, sometimes you come in, you can make a change to everything. You come in a big company like a big bank. When I used to join Wells Fargo, it's hard to change years, hundreds of years of bank, right? So even that you can bring sometimes that change that you want right away, but it's not something that will bound your hand to build a successful product team. So the first thing is to identify how your products are built. And if you're the first product manager on a company, you get to decide that. It's great. It's great to have to decide. You're also going to have to go through the motions of what works, right? And that's where kind of like the pointers that I've seen in the past, where which one works best in which situation. And I noticed that if I press my arrows, it doesn't do anything. Sorry. So which one is the best? The best is what works for you and your team and your company, right? The idea is to try to keep in mind when you are thinking of how you're going to break your products across, or how you're going to solve the customer problem through multiple products or through your product. You have three things you want to try to check the box. One of them is that be as self-sufficient as possible. And why? That is to avoid dependency, right? So the one thing about product lines that people love and like, it's because once you have a product line defined, usually the other line doesn't depend on that, right? It might depend in a macro level of the company, but that team can operate independently. The journey gets a little bit murky and complicated because it might be that someone finishing a journey and entering another journey, that point of handover needs to be known between two PMs. So what you want to do, the whatever organizational blueprint you choose, what you really want to do is try to make each of the product teams give to each product manager the most be self-sufficient as possible. And that is easy to validate by having clear goal that doesn't belong to another team, and also being dependent on your metrics. So, like, for example, one thing is like everybody in e-commerce loves conversion, but not everyone can use conversion as their KPI. The home team, the acquisition team definitely should use acquisition metrics to see how successful they are, or click-through rate. Conversion is something that we give to the bottom of the funnel in this case. So although the entire company rallies around conversion and everything translates into conversion, when you're operating the team in that smallest unit, give them a metric and you can test that. Give them a metric that some other team doesn't own it or doesn't need to own it. Therefore, it's easy to give them a go, it's easy to make them self-sufficient, and it's easy to measure their success. So those are the three checkboxes that I always use when I'm validating the way I distributed and organize my team. So once I created the team and creating kind of the visuals, like what are the solutions and types of products that I believe this organization should run around it, what I do is that now we need to assemble the PMs, right? So we need to give PMs to each of those teams. And one thing that is really important is that comes the hiring or using people that are around in the company. And it's usually where it's a little bit tricky. One is tricky because PMs come in many shapes and forms. They can be SMEs, they can be generalists, they can be technical, they can come from the marketing side. So understanding the problem you're solving and how you're envisioning that product to exist, and also what the stage of the product is. So if you're creating a new product from scratch, you're in the intro phase. If your product has been around and now is ready to grow, you're in the growth phase. And sometimes you end up with a company that already have a mature product or even a declining product that you as a leader needs to take care of. So by understanding across all your products, what are the situations that you're in as a product leader, it helps you go and see what type of PMs you need. And then so that I'm gonna go all this. And what is the flywheel that I like to think when I'm selecting a product manager? So I like to think about these 8 aspects, and I'm going to start with the right one. So how complex is your product? Is your product customer facing? I know I say this many times, but there is a reason why we ask that. Customer facing product means you need a designer, means that your PM needs to know how to work with designers, means your PM needs to know to validate design problems, right? Do you need a generalist or an SME? Are you dealing with data science, machine learning, or you really need somebody that understands the inside out of that subject matter? Or is a PM that is a generalist can take upon that product? How mature is your product? Define your PM levels. So also understand, do I need different levels? Can I afford different levels? How many products each PM can lead for each level? Do you have someone in-house or need to hire, and the budget? So on the right side, you have more of the existential questions. On the right, on the left side, on my left side, you have more of the hardcore data questions, right? Do I have budget? How many levels should I have many levels based on my existential questions? And then a rule of thumb for those who are thinking, okay, what about levels and what does it mean? So you can go from junior PMs, right, to director plus and VP, go beyond. I can say that once you hit directors and VPs, like it's almost kind of always the same problems, just dressed differently. So rule of thumb for me is for junior PMs, if you have junior PMs or you're thinking about hire junior PMs, make sure that you have a mature product or a declining product, no customer facing, and technical products. That's when a junior PM thrive the most. Reason why is that they have space to learn, they have space to grow. They don't have many variables, so like they don't need to understand design, they don't need to understand much, a lot of concepts that goes into product. They can be a pure execute with the engineering team. And if they're technical products, usually junior PMs have some sort of experience, and usually majority of the PMs come from the technical side. Again, if the PM is coming from another like marketing or business, maybe the technical product is not good. But usually a lot of junior PMs come from that technical background, right? They are engineers or recent grads in computer science that want to move into product. Then when you get to the PM, which is about 3 to 5 years of experience, and you get more of this blend of industries that they are coming from, you can have one product customer facing, SME required. You're also able to find that level. It drives really good if you need an SME, so a machine learning, data science, an API expert, or 0 to 1 product. So you don't have anything, you need to build a product from scratch. That about amount of experience in PM, you easily can give them and they will run with it. Senior PMs, you also want to flex a little bit. You want to give about 2 products for them to lead, and they are really good fit for everything before. It's all adding up, okay? It's everything before plus growth stage products, because it can really take that product that is working well and exponentially grow the product. They are really good. Senior PMs are really good in optimizing and looking for opportunities of growth and new problems to solve, right? They are master already in customer research, understanding opportunity analysis, understanding hypothesis validation, and really turning those A/B testings and customer validation really fast. So they're really good for that type of stage growth. And principal product managers, or a manager, more than 2 products, very mature product levels. They can balance multiple maturity products and manage other PMs at that stage. And director plus, of course, oversees a group of products and a portfolio and a strategy. Now, all that said, if you're a product lead, the one thing you want to always find is like what it looks like a senior PM, but is a PM, or a PM that is actually a junior PM, because that means someone is like in the it's upward in their career and are growing really fast, and you're getting them in that stage still that they are learning, and you can help them learn, and you can just give a nudge and they will they will just deliver more than what you expected. And that's a gem for a manager, right? Because what happens is that is a little bit of effort that you give, but the return, it's amazing. So what usually when you're hiring, you want to kind of see what PMs are out there that could be senior PMs, or senior PMs that could be managers, because they also stay for the long run. when the company invests in them, they do stay longer and they invest back because they see a career progression and they see challenge, and all PMs seek that challenge. All PMs in the audience will definitely agree. We all seek challenge and problems to solve. One other view of things that I always look is that if you're in startup, capital might be limited to hire, so you might need to get creative. And this is something I was never told. I always had a big company problem. Big company problem is that you cannot have more than X amount of people. We have to control the account of people that we have. So, but they would throw money to hire that one person you could hire every 2 years. Now, startup is that just pack it up, like, hire people. We need to hire people, we need to grow, but you have like 100th of the budget. So that's where you also get creative into identifying talented and people that can grow really fast. And senior vest execution driven. That's the other thing with startup. Be very careful when you're in startup, what type of product manager you're trying to find and what you're hiring for. Startups sometimes really want a senior person and then puts on an execution seat. And sometimes that doesn't jive where they are in their career, the type of challenge they were looking for. So if you're managing people, you also don't want people that get bored or like unhappy really fast. Hiring costs money, costs your time as a leader. So it's not always hire the most senior person. It's always hire the best person for that product and for the problem you're trying to solve. And know the time to build hierarchy. Understanding the startup, how long they're going to give you, or what's the expectation to start building your organization. And on a big company, you have a lot of money. You might just be constrained about the total headcount. And there's a lot of more team history. So usually when you get into a big company, you might be asking to redo the organization, to relook at the organization, not hiring from scratch. So there's a lot of like understanding the situation, understanding the history, understanding who is there, their skills, their strengths, and their weaknesses, and how you as a leader can help, or what you're gonna do about it. And then best practices for me is like build a team that complements each other. If you're not using a flat organization model, avoid all PMs being at the same level and with the same expertise. Always be growing, which does not mean more people, but it does mean more value delivered. SME is important, but sometimes overrated. So be careful. Sometimes people say, you need an SME. This is super hard to do. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes a generalist, it would just do just fine. So you as a hiring manager, be very careful of not being pressured to hire an SME all the time. And coaching. Once you hire, now you have a team. No matter what the level they are, they all gonna need coaching. They all gonna need new challenges. They all gonna want to grow the career. So that is why it's important. The first one is that never go, unless you're a flat organization and that's the way the organization supports all the managers, never go and hire all senior. We're going to have the same problem times the many PMs you have. Try to make it different. Try to make career path for each one of them and start assembling your hierarchy the way that PMs can coach each other. And what you're doing, it's mostly coaching on the high level, strategic level, and helping each other, help each other. And no matter what, try to avoid joining a company or taking on a new lead role and assuming that people that are there don't know what they are doing. So always, if you have PMs, they are very smart, right? We know we are PMs. Take what they know, understand the history before you go and say, oh, nobody works, like nobody's working, or this is not the way I want to assemble my organization. Try to understand each story has both sides. A lot of new managers are put in a tough situation where they are hired, they come in the organization and they have some pressure because something's not working. And when you're going to see there's more to the story that actually it's being told to you by some other folks, right? So always go look for the problem yourself, find the problem yourself, and build hypotheses around it. And then really quick, how you kind of keep managing people. and how you keep looking at it. So you always want to have a team that operates here. So I always plot my team into this 9 spots matrix, and you always want to have the team here. So if the team is if someone is a low potential and a low performer, he's underperforming or she's underperforming, something needs to happen. So you always want to have your team in one of those 4 quadrants, or they are star, or they're rising star, or they're a contributor, and you will always want to have about 15% in the emerging star quadrant. That helps know that your team is operating and delivering value. And it's usually done through review cycle. I do this constantly with my team through peer review and solicited feedback, just to make sure that if there's anyone falling outside, we have a plan to put them back on track. And for frameworks, really quick, that was the last pillar. You experiment as much as you can. There is no right or wrong framework, but you as a leader needs to start giving frameworks to your team of how you expect them to operate, so you can plot them in the matrix. So leverage quantitative and qualitative data while defining what you focus on as a product team. It's a good rule of thumb. Validate all the assumptions with data always. Empower teams to make decisions by communicating goals and key results clearly, and be very customer focused. So those are kind of the 5 things that I take with me in every single company that I go to and I implement right away. There are sub frameworks in each company. There are things you try and fail for certain companies. And there are things that you find out in the new company that they were using and you're like, I want to apply and try in product. But those are the kind of 5 ones that I always trying to implement, because I feel that they does set my team up for success. And build and lead your teams as you would build your product. Focus on value and results, identify problems fast and solve them the best as you can. Don't be afraid to iterate and pivot. And that's it. Thank you. So I speak really fast, so I apologize. I was trying to pace myself.
That's fantastic, Camila. Thank you so much. Such fantastic information in that presentation. We're very appreciative. We're going to open up the floor to everybody for a Q&A. Feel free to unmute and start your video and ask us some questions. All right, I'll get it started for you guys. Camila, you mentioned about 6 months ago that you changed environments into Instapage, Postclick. Are there any ways in which you adapted or got creative in your team building strategy during a crisis?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Yeah. So the way that a few things, right? When I got hired, we were already all remote and doing onboard remoting, right? So I was one of the first ones to join as being remote and on remote onboarding. What we adapted was how we onboard people. Also, what we adapted is that where we are hiring from. So it did give us some flexibility to find talent across the US versus in the Bay Area only, which is great because product design, like they are all over the place and you have so much like talent, like east, west, middle, everywhere, right? So we adapt really quickly and opening up to be able to hire folks anywhere. So it did help me fill some of the openings that I have pretty fast with very talented people versus, being constrained in one area. Even Bay Area, if commute is more than 1 hour, it's really hard to convince people to come to the office every day. So in that area, that is really hard. But yeah, it made it a little bit more rich, the process of recruiting for my directs that needed to hire. So that was one of the quick adapt that we have. The other adapt that we had was how we work with engineering remote all the time from scrums, how we follow up, how much we use virtual things versus how much we use written communication, and how we deal with not being in the same office, but being able to talk all the time and just bounce ideas without you formally have to like schedule a meeting. So a few of the frameworks that change a little bit, but in the hiring, more of like opening of amazing talent, which before was more constrained.
That's great. hearing that the talent pool can open up like that.
Yeah.
We have a question from Christine Brown. She says, I'm not technical, no engineering background, and I want to become a product manager. How would a technical team relate to a non-technical product manager? How would they take it? What challenges would a non-technical product manager face in this case?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So as I mentioned, product managers come from different backgrounds, right? I have product managers in my team that were not technical at all. I think, Christine, to your question is that it depends of what the product you're being hired to do. So usually non-technical PMs that didn't have a technical background, they are perfect for what we call SME products, right? So for example, in MarTech, like where the area that I'm in, anyone coming from marketing would be a perfect product manager, right? Of course, that if the person never being a product manager will be that situation where it said one product, maybe not the customer facing one, or maybe the customer facing one, but a very mature product that helps also you learn the product managers inside out and operate as a product manager. In terms of the team, engineering, my experience has always been amazing with engineering. Engineering, to be honest, they don't expect some engineers, some companies, right? There are differences. But majority of the companies that I work, the engineering team didn't expect the PM to be technical because the product is not technical. Now, if the product is technical, like, if you're working on a microservices product or cloud product, then there is that expectation. But I kind of have the feeling you wouldn't go there with your background. That wouldn't be something also that you are attracted in the problem statement area. So the reality is that there is always a marriage that work from your background not being technical to a product, a piece of the product or part of the product that doesn't require a technical expertise. And the engineering team operating on those really appreciate someone non-technical bringing in the business acumen, the vision, the strategy, and what we are trying to accomplish, because not necessarily they need one more person to bounce technical ideas, because they are already under that type of framework of mind. So I would just say choose the industry that excites you the most and look for that role. I had product managers that were not technical and they were tremendous successful.
That's great, Camila. That's yeah, it seems like there's strength that lies in diversity of skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, balanced team is the best thing you can get. Yeah, like diverse of skills, it's the best thing you can get.
All right, we got another question from Marudi Panubothu. What are your thoughts on building a product team in an existing organization that followed waterfall for 20 plus years and now started with agile transformation?
Yes, I would say you're in for an amazing problem because that is never easy. I went through this with Walmart. When I joined Walmart, they were going from years of waterfall from Walmart stores into like agile transformation. So let's decouple a little bit. So the agile and the waterfall, what you're gonna change for the product manager is what's expected of the product manager to produce, how they interact with the team, and how they meet the team, right? The way that things get delivered and validated. If you're going to go pure agile, there's many frameworks there. But for the product management perspective, what it changes is that you're not writing BRDs that are 50 pages. You're writing very small independent stories that can be consumed in 2 weeks and delivered in 2 weeks. You were thinking long-term, but you're not thinking detail long-term. You're thinking like high level long term, really good grasp on midterm, very detailed in the next 2 or 4 weeks, right? And so for assembling, if you're building a product team, I would say if you have an opportunity of hiring, bring someone that knows how to operate in agile to help the ones that are transition fast. And then help the people that have been product managers 20 years in waterfall understand how their role changes and kind of what is your expectation for them going forward. But I would say the moment you get an opportunity to hire, bring someone that is super expert that can cross pollinate and coach those other PMs, and they can see on this new person how it's done, and they can learn as they go. Because no matter how much you get coached, doing it is the best school. So having someone to mimic is super helpful. So that's the way I would approach. But also understand what changes for them, communicate to them all the time and set expectation, and help them say no to engineer, because engineering during the transformation loves to keep asking for 50 pages BRDs because it's super comfortable, right? Going from that to 3 lines, it's not comfortable at all.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's keep moving with these questions. We've got quite a few rolling in for you. Seamus, if you want to unmute and share your video, you're welcome to pop in and ask your question.
Sure. Camila, thank you. You mentioned the importance of not stepping into an organization with the attitude that you're doing X wrong and I have the answer and it is Y. And so henceforth, everyone shall do Y. And I think that that's a really fertile ground for some more detail about how to navigate that. So if you could speak to, firstly, how to identify and do the research to understand the reasoning behind things, and perhaps some of the justifications of the legacy systems that are in place. And then secondly, how to ensure that the existing stakeholders feel heard while you're going through the process of implementing some adjustment.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way I go about it, so once you join the organization as a product leader or managing organization, definitely you're going to have a contact with leadership, which is kind of say, hey, we hire you and here's some of the problems we think exist in the organization, right? You listen to them, and now what I do is that first I talk to everyone in my product organization, what their point of view, how things are going, how they think things are going, what they think I could help, like really have very meaningful conversation and hear their side. Then I go and I talk to my partners in engineering, which is always partners, right? So I have data partners, engineering partners. So I start talking to them. So I kind of understand the picture of what everybody's views are and what is like the perception around. Once I understood and I kind of look for, okay, maybe it was a communication issue, or maybe it's not people related, it's process related. What I do is that I put together like a quick presentation where I try to highlight, listen, I know you told me the problem was X, Y, and Z. So like, for example, statements like, oh, our product team doesn't know what they are doing, right? So someone will always say that, it's just someone. And then you come back and say, listen, it's not that they don't know what they are doing. It's pretty much they know, but they don't have a channel to express or provide feedback. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up this meeting every month for them to talk. And if in 3 months you feel they still don't know, we're going to have a conversation, right? And then I prep my team. I kind of coach them of how to present themselves in those meetings and kind of open the channel. So there is always the problem and I try to come with a solution. Now, listen, sometimes there is people problem, right? And you're going to have as a leader to say, you're right. It's not the whole organization. There are people in the matrix a little bit down. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on a plan. I think that there is an opportunity to say they really have talent. Maybe it hasn't been put in the right project or product. Let me take a stab at this and let me get back to you at 3 months. As a new person, you get 3 months pass, right? So use wisely of like how much effort you want to put into coaching and growing people there. And when I said is that don't jump into conclusion, is that just don't simply take for what leadership's telling you. The entire product team doesn't know what's going on. And you as a leader say, okay, everybody's out. Right? I don't like any one of you. Nobody knows what to do. So that's the way I go about it. At the end, it's always, we don't know what comes out at the other end. But what I always try to do is put a presentation of like, this is what I heard. This is what I found. This is how I propose we solve. And I put like one slide for each of the problems that I've heard throughout this 1 month of interviewing and talking to people. And I usually give myself 4 weeks of doing that. So did I leave any of the question out? Did I not answer any of, did I answer all of them?
You did a great job. As far as mine personally, you did a great job. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. You're on mute.
My apologies. Thank you. We got a couple more and then we're going to start wrapping things up. One question from Siddharth Bhai. How do you build out a product team to be ready to accelerate, anticipating current product bets go well and new headcount team growth becomes possible?
Yeah, to be ready to accelerate. So if you have the racks ready, so if you're giving the racks because the company's saying, hey, we're gonna make this happen, and you have it, then what you do is that you want to hire the best talent as fast as you can. And you as a hiring manager know the constraints, like what the budget, where you can hire, like the levels you need to hire. And I would say is like aggressively go recruit. If people are saying, hey, be ready, this might go well and we might get you new headcounts. What I usually like to do is what I call a passive recruiting. So meaning that I reach out to people, like I look at people in the network, or I work with my recruiting to reach out and start a conversation. And we are pretty blunt. We say, hey, we are working in this company. We are looking at potentially adding new products to the product line and solving new problems. We are talking to candidates like you to see if that's something that is your interest. We don't have an opening right now, but would you be interested in starting a conversation? And a lot of people are, especially depending on the company and what you guys trying to solve and people's career. They are always, even if you say I might not be able to offer a job at the end, they always want to connect and have their name and face there on the hat. So that's what actually I do. Sometimes I do that. I did that a few times. And what happened is that when the rack was open, those people were available, and it really moved really fast because they already had talked to the HR, already have talked to me and maybe one more person. So that meant that they only had like a panel maybe to attend, which makes really fast. So if your company allows for that type of flexibility, I'll say always do evergreen. Always like to find talent and like entertain a conversation. If your company's saying, here are the many racks you have, go hire, then yes, it's you and the recruiting, calling people, reaching out to people, opening the rack as fast as you can, and screening people. Because it takes some time to find the right fit for what you're looking for.
Siddharth, feel good about that?
Siraj did hire fast, but hire wisely.
That's a good, succinct way to put it. All right, we got from Parul. If you're a new director inheriting a team of a mix of senior product managers and more junior ones, what's the best strategy for things one could do in the first 90 plus days to best set them for success?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if they all report to you, be ready to be a little bit stretched, right? The juniors will need more hands-on, and the seniors you probably can lean on them. One thing I always say to any product hire, identify your right-hand PM, the person that reports to you, that it's the most senior, or you can count on a lot. You can count on everybody in your team, but there's always someone that is off the chart and most senior. And if you don't have those, you have to hire one. And then what you do with the junior, you understand for the first 90 days, you understand what their problems are, and you see if they are quick wins. If they are not quick wins that you can really kind of just come in and help them, if you see that is more, oh, I want a coach, or I'm having a hard time here, or I'm having this issue with engineering, what I would do is grab one of the senior PMs to kind of help that junior PM do a cross-pollination in terms of learning. The senior PM will get excited about because they get more of like the coaching managerial experience, and you are not stuck in trying to solve many levels, right? And usually junior levels you can quickly solve, but sometimes it's about progression and learning and some like smaller things that if you aggregate everything, it becomes a lot, and your 90 days will go like this. So identify where you have a strong senior that have been through this, and you can say, hey, I hear you. Here's what we're going to do. So and so is going to talk to you about this and help you navigate through. I've done that like for like frameworks and things I wanted to implement really fast. I gave to the senior person to do it, and then he coached it and kind of did a webinar for everyone else, right? So in this case, you're kind of leveraging all the knowledge you have in your team without you being the one having to solve individually if they all reported to you. And then after the 90 days, you get into the one-on-one cadence and more forward-looking, where you don't feel the pressure to solve right away because your first 90 days, but then you can put a longer planning place, maybe a shadowing planning place for the longer term. So leverage the seniors of your team to help the juniors as most as you can.
Nicely put. All right, everybody. We got a little bit more time if anybody wants to pop in with another question. If not, we also, this is a portion of our live events that we try to do a section called shout outs, where if anybody is looking to hire or if anybody is looking for another opportunity, this is the time to pop in and say hello and introduce yourselves, or you can leave it in the chat as well.
So I'll just go, we are hiring. So if anyone's looking for a job in any area, or you want to tell your friends, there's many opening in Postclick, check it out. It's like postclick.com/careers, or there is a careers button on the top. But yeah, we have tons of opening. We have, I think, designer in my team, but also a scrum master coming up, and then in other teams that it could be some areas of product people that like the product side, but more on the professional services side. So yeah, check it out and tell your friends.
There you go. Great opportunities at Postclick. All right. Feel free to pop those in the chat. Just so you know, we do these webinars once a week. We used to do them live, of course. We're limited on doing that right now, but every month we do have a guest from the San Francisco area. Just so you know, next month on the 18th, we have product director of Slack joining us, Ellie Powers. So feel free to find that on Eventbrite and join us for that. If there's nobody else that wants to pop in and ask a question or any finishing thoughts, Camila?
Sorry, I muted. So no, I really appreciate the opportunity. I hope it was useful, at least for like people that are getting into that, or even how to manage your manager. So I hope it was useful. I didn't put my LinkedIn, and now I realize, but if anyone, I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Camila Franco, Franco, all together. I'm there. Or if you put my first name, Camila, and then Postclick, also I'll probably pop up and show up.
Amazing. We love that. Connections to all.
Yeah. Please add me.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this night. It's been great. And thank you, Camila. You're wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Thanks for attending, you guys.